Hello, good morning. Hello, Uncle Scientist. How are you doing today? And yes, it has been a while, hasn't it? Hit me with the best checklist. Okay, so I actually want to add this in here as a new item. Asitsu, hello. Thank you. I did that. Let's see, what was it? It's a couple weeks now ago. I did that stream with Toggobit. That was a lot of fun. But now, you may notice, yeah, the room's still a mess, but that's not an excuse to not stream. So the plan is to do these. I'm going to be experimenting with the time a little bit, either in the mornings or the afternoons, and something like, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, something like that. You didn't catch that one. Bad timing for you. I was in Hawaii at the time, and so fun, sort of like a fun, interesting thing. It was exactly 12 hours different than Toggobit's time, which oddly made it easier to do. Basically, it was normal time for him, maybe a little bit late for me, but still not bad at all. It was funny to have him be like in the morning and me being at night. Cleaner than your room, at least. That seems, I don't know, that seems wrong. This is pretty. I have no room. This is as far back as I can go because I have a file cabinet right behind me, which I need to move to all sorts of different places. Okay. Let's see. I want to go find this, the checklist that we're going to begin from. In a different building, which, indeed. In a different building, which, indeed. Hey, okay. Am I back? Yeah, I see the oh no. Okay, I was just about to say, I am not on wired internet because the actual like Wi-Fi device, the router is in a different building, and so I have extenders going on that give me more coverage that should help with the wireless. But obviously some random things can still happen. Plus, also, I am on a Starlink internet, and so I'm at the whims of Starlink. Now I know that Mr. Halsey was on Starlink too when he was streaming, and there was a lot of sort of fun, interesting things that he did. I don't have like a proxy server like he had set up somewhere to stream to. That might be something to look into if this continues to happen, but I think we've done a couple streams here and it's been relatively fine. Like right now I'm getting like, okay, during that time that I was out, I had no drop frames. That's interesting. You would think that if it was my internet, would have had a lot of drop frames. That's actually more odd. I wonder if that's a Twitch thing then. Or a restream to go to YouTube and to Twitch at the same time. It could have been one of those. Who knows? That's disconcerting. Let me try updating my settings. Oh, we're no strangers to stream issues here. No, we are not. I did update OBS. If you like hit a limit, which you all are seeing me go up and down, so you're gonna get only part of this conversation, which is unfortunate. Let's say max bitrate. That bitrate we'll do. I'll just do 2000. Maybe we'll do 1500. Let's see, tuning. Okay. How about this? I updated. It apparently was attempting to send out at 10,000 kilobits per second as a maximum bit rate. As a steady stream, and I think I'm gonna need to go through OBS again, because I did update it to whatever the latest stuff is, and it's doesn't seem to be super thrilled with what I've got, because the internet is actually stable. The music is from a YouTube playlist that's going right now, and that seems to be fine. So let's see if this works a little bit. Silly updates. I am also streaming 2 restreams, so if necessary, I can still drop down to 30 frames per second instead of the 60. I set it to a maximum bitrate of 3000 and a target bitrate of 1500. So not a super quality. My stream manager on my iPad is showing nothing at all. So let me reload that. Yeah. Business IT checklist number 1, get OBS to work on Starlink. Number 2, profit. Yeah, something like that. That seems to be right. All right. The management section of the Twitch app is, I have no idea how to use this anymore. Like, I can look around for different stuff, but I wonder if it's going to give me little pop-ups whenever something was going on. The quality was inconsistent and kept cutting out before, but is all good now. Okay, so my guess for what was happening was that I was overloading the internet. I was sending up so much stuff that the satellites were saying, no, you're good, you're done. And then it does a little soft reset to my internet connection. And obviously that's not great for me because that's a reset. Now that I'm no longer taking up quite too much, it's probably okay with me. I've actually had that before on a wired DSL connection way back in the past when I was in a different city. Okay, so lighting is okay for right now, but I think that's just because it's daytime and I don't have any studio lights up. I don't have room for them right now. I don't even know where I would put them. So I don't know if I'll be able to do night streams at all. We'll have to take a look at that. It's everything will be something we play around with. Okay. In the meantime, this is where we're gonna start with. Kyle Coberly is a friend of the stream. We've had him on before to chat with. It was a long time ago. I consider him a mentor, and I've worked with him both as a coworker and also as him as my manager. I learned a lot of management stuff from him. So he wrote a, let's see, which one was it? He wrote a meetup talk a while ago about quality, which I think is this one. And in it, just sort of something he threw in at the very end. Old Man Coberly's new web app checklist. And I just remembered this not very long ago, and was, and this is especially true because one of the things that I've been doing is working as a fractional director of development for companies. That's what I've been filling my time with all this year instead of streaming. I took 3 contracts, which basically made it where I had a minimum of 55 hours per week that I was working on for companies, which is quite possibly the most American thing that somebody can do, is like just sign up for way too much work at the same time. So obviously that was really busy and really hectic. But at the same time, I got to see a couple different companies and just sort of how things are working with them. And each company had different sort of areas that they were really good at and different areas that they were sort of missing. So I want to create that for more of like, not just, well, I would love to create this for like the entire company, but focusing on maybe IT to begin with. And IT is like a huge, broad category. This is just like one specific, project. So this is obviously going to be maybe just a starting point. It's missing profit. Yeah, I mean, well, that's the one thing is like, oftentimes if you're creating a new app, you're not necessarily thinking of profit for that app. Although, as a business, I would love to start seeing more like people that aren't just the quote MBAs, think about profit for various applications. Like having everybody think that the business side is like their job too, would be extremely helpful, because we need more people at the table, like especially more people with technical abilities at the table making business decisions. Because like how often have we seen like the scenario of, hey, IT people, we the business have decided that you're going to work on this app. This is how it's going to work, and we'd like you to use this technology. It's like, okay, did anybody technical help you come up with that? Because half this isn't possible, especially with the time frame that you've given to us. Oh, you've already sold it, and it's contractually obligated. Oh, yeah, okay. This is gonna be fun. Yeah, how often does that happen? On a serious note, though, you're happy to see accessibility right there on the list. Yes, Kyle is very big on like proper accessibility and like fully considering all of these different things. He and I have done a lot of teaching in the past, and accessibility was some of the things that we made sure to teach. It helps that we both know some people who are, I mean, not just big into accessibility, but need the accessibility tools. Like I've worked with some people who are blind before, and it's not just like, oh, I use the screen reader to test things. It's like, no, they use the screen reader because that's all they can use to navigate around. And there's some interesting little things that you learn about it that is like, oh, this is important. This is good. So I'm very happy to have had those. What would I call it? Experiences, relationships, networkings. Not sure. Okay. I called this tab Obsidian because this is the directory that I have for Obsidian on my computer. And I want to create, I don't want to call this like a new app checklist, although I think a lot of this is going to be part of this. Let's just do this as like a business checklist. Who needs to bother with security? Would like to see security and compliance on there as well. Yes, I think that that is something that has become way more important in the most, like, very recently. And we've been seeing more and more, well, like entire swaths of the internet go down because some people might not call that security, but one of the big parts of security is keeping things up. Is like, you want to keep things up. Now, oftentimes that's because you want to keep things up because of a hacker or some vulnerability or something else like that causes it. But you also just want to be security from mistakes and other things too. So security is part of all of that. It's why I think that it's incredibly important to make sure that we have a security team, or at least a security person who is capable of communicating with the rest of the company, and also not making you want them to be they don't have to be friends, but professional business relationships where it's not always just no. There's always good reasons for it. All right, so we're going to start with IT checklist. Maybe because I want to add this onto business eventually, we can just call this the business checklist, and then we'll have a subsection of this for IT. I do think that having a version control that's central to the entire company that everybody is using is pretty important. I don't think that allowing every team to choose their own version control software is a good idea. There's a lot of reasons around that. The biggest one is you want people to be able to, move over to other projects and not have to learn like 20 different technologies. But from a security point of view, you also don't want to have to harden multiple technologies too. You want to be able to focus on the specific ones that you're working on. So it'd be things like as one version control set up. Examples would be git. And here's the thing is, like, I don't care if it's GitHub or not. Like, it could be Git. There is SVN, Subversion, Mercurial. Self-hosted is fine. There's definitely several different types of companies that would need that kind of extra security. If you're working with medical data or like other things and you're really concerned about your source code or other things getting out, just self-hosting that is a perfectly valid thing to do. So I'm certainly not against someone to do that. So self-hosted or cloud. So examples would be GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab, self-hosted. GitLab has their own Git, right? So GitLab, self-hosted. There's another one that I remember reading about, and I forget what it's called. I mean, it's all based upon Git, or at least the ones that I'm familiar with. I don't have those. And also, I don't know if I actually care about the examples in this list. I probably should, if I'm going to do examples, I will add those into a different file maybe, and I can link them from here or something like that. Okay, so has one and only one version control setup, so not multiple. Let's see what else. Anything? Oh, sort of CI/CD pipeline related. I like that to be set up through, like, at least connected to version control. Now, let's see. So we have CI/CD pipelines set up, but what that means is I want to be able to run the security tests, security checks automatically. Now, I don't need I wouldn't necessarily say that it's like a mark against the company if we don't run this every single time. At the very least, I want this run every single time we're about to merge into like prod. So before merge into prod, and I'm wording it this way because I'm okay if a company chooses that they don't want to run a very specific, like, I don't think that you should be able to have to say like this company has to run this type of Git flow. Like, it doesn't have to be the Git flow. It doesn't have to be a Git flow that I use myself. As long as they're consistent, everybody agrees upon it, and it works for them, and they're able to do these things with it, that's all that really matters. If a company chooses to not have a, I guess, let's see, because like even if a company chooses not to have a prod, like a dev environment, that's okay too. Because if you just have a prod environment and you hide everything with environment variables, you can have multiple prod and you can have multiple deployments. You can have a deployment locally. I mean, think about that, because maybe I do want like a testing or dev environment. So yeah, that's so deployed environments. By the way, I have set up, so whenever I have a markdown file like this, I have Helix automatically running Harper, which is a Think of it like a check, but for spelling, and it also recommends changes, sort of like if you have like a Word document and it's like, hey, you should like add in a comma to this or something like that. It will check for that too, which is really cool. I like it a lot. Environment. No. Okay, so our deployed environments. So I think, you know what? What if I just say this? App environments. Because then we can have local, so local dev machine. So I want the code and the app to work on a local dev machine. Bonus points. Bonus if works without internet. That would be really cool if it can work without internet. That I can totally understand if somebody is using an authentication service like there's a bunch of them like Auth0, Okta, Azure's authentication service, which I forget what it's called, Amazon's authentication service. All of those will not, I don't think they truly have anything that replicates that locally. So you would have to use that with internet if you want to, like, I mean, you want to run the entire thing, which means having login. Basic auth is the only real option. I mean, do you really want to be the person at a company who maintains that though? Because isn't that what ends up happening? If you have basic auth and like you're the one who sets it up, you're kind of asking to just become the auth guy or auth person, and it's not someone you want to be. Okay, so local dev machine. I'm thinking a dev. It's like some kind of dev here. My Twitch app crashed, which is really cool. There. Let's see. Okay, so we have dev. I think this is not necessarily dev. We're gonna have. So I'm not sold on the word for this, like the title for that. Testing, I think, is really important. We want some environment to work in like in a testing environment. And then we want production with a bonus. Bonus / extra is environment per client. Now, the reason why I add this in here is because I have actually seen some companies that do this. Salesforce, for example, is really big on having like a completely separate environment per customer, which allows them to lock certain versions of technology and tools down to what the customer has. They can go down for like certain things and it doesn't go down for others. They have 100% separation of data from one client to another. Like if you're working with government stuff, you might want to have an environment specifically for that one government, and then like a contractor and different client cannot even come close to accessing that data because their data isn't even in the same database. This is obviously a lot. That's not necessarily a recommendation to do. It's more of like, hey, if you have the ability to do it and your clients need you to do that, then this can be good. For this dev one, it's because I've seen it used not just for development purposes, but I've also seen this used for demos. And that does seem, most people I think call it dev. But if I add in a little bit of extra sort of metadata here, this would be development, let's see, demos, basically just to show off work in progress to stakeholders. And other developers. Things like that. Testing generally is going to run inside of here. But also potentially, no, local dev machine is there, testing, okay. Each of those would have a complete no staging. And so like, that's the question, is like, is development staging? Or is like, because I'm trying to think like, is not having a staging that big of a problem? I don't know. What do you all think? Because I can see Code Damn, hello. You say do it in production. Yeah. Well, I mean, what I would prefer, like if I could snap my fingers and have a company be like exactly how I want them to be set up, which obviously will never happen. Even if I could snap my fingers, it would probably be a terrible idea because you just set something up that all the devs don't know how to do. But basically, if I could like dictate how they're going to work on it and become like the king of their castles, I would say that they should use what is it called? Feature flags. And then the feature flags can be toggled on and off in development, right? And that's why we show off work in progress. So like this development is also like, maybe we call this development / staging. And you have feature flags to show all the work in progress and everything else that's going on. In production, feature flags are automatically hidden. So, or rather, feature flags for in development work is basically hidden, so those nobody can access that. But users can like use feature flags for like users and that kind of stuff. I don't know. That's sort of like how I feel about it recently. I can put it down here. That way it's sort of in this order of like local dev machine, testing. Testing generally would have all the feature flags open, so that way you can test every feature. Development and staging, and production. For CI/CD, before we merge into, well, I guess now it should be before we merge into any environment. We want to run the security checks automatically, which means we're going to want to have a section for security. We'll want to have run tests, run auto tests. I'm making a call out for like automatic tests as opposed to manual tests because there are features that is still incredibly difficult to manually test, and I don't trust the AI testing software out there yet to do those kind of tests. Okay, security checks, auto tests, accessibility tests. Which means accessibility, accessibility has been at least considered. I have worked with a company before where we asked like, hey, do we need to consider this? And the answer from the CEO was no. We do not need to consider people who are blind because our clients are required by law to have sight. Like it's a health thing. So they have to have that. It's like, okay, well that's actually really interesting. And to know is like, okay, well the app doesn't need to be blind accessible because literally nobody can have that job unless they're sighted. That's not true for every single job out there. There's a lot of jobs that can be done by people who are unsighted, but there's more than just sight. There's also people who are colorblind. Like that, a huge amount of people have like red-green, I think, color blindness. And then also like just a sort of variation in between. And those people are sighted, but still have an accessibility concern. So it's good to have that out there because a lot of times when you ask accessibility, people just go straight to the big ones. Like, oh, they're missing a limb. They can't walk. They are, they can't see at all. Like 100% not see. Oftentimes though, there's people who are quote blind, but they can see 10%, or they can see if they have like one of the zoom in screen things. I worked with somebody who had one of those tools. Those are super fascinating to see them like move through applications using those. Okay, so before merging any environment, run the security checks, auto tests, accessibility tests. See, in this thing, do we have any other things that we're looking for? Ooh, check for like code quality checks. So this would be something like console logs. We also have at this point, oh, what is it called? It's the, I used to use this all the time, and I haven't like said it in a long time. It's the number that shows the number of pathways through the code. And it's like a complexity check. So I guess complexity. You can also at this point check for test coverage. I'm not sure about the other ones. So then we can say, so after merge, oh. Okay, so after merge, I would love to see companies do this a lot more often. Some of them do, and many of them do not. Run tests in production. So you want a test suite that runs on production to make sure that things are actually working the way you want to. So like basically you want, I mean, this is going to be automatic, so automated smoke test. Now you could have it also like send a message to somebody to say like, hey, do a manual smoke test, but I don't know if I care about that. That's like just something, that's a how that somebody could like decide to do. And I'm really focused more on like just the end result. Like are they basically automatically smoke testing after a merge into one of these things? And then auto rollback. So auto rollback if necessary, because sometimes it can fail and you're okay with that, right? Like if you merge this into the testing branch and it fails, that might be okay, because you're just going to keep on like merging fixes into it, and you're kind of like, you want it to be in the failed state until it's not failed state. Production, absolutely, you want that rolled back instantly if like the smoke tests fail. Scott, hello. It has been a long time. I've been working. I got some contract jobs where I was working as a director of development for a couple different companies. Only like, 14, 15, 20 hours per company, but if you get a few of those at a time, then it adds up quite a bit. So that's what I've been doing. But I'm between contracts now, so no active contracts, which means that I have plenty of time to do streaming again. That 4-level word, sorry, work. You're sorry, but the money is nice. Yes, it is. It is a little bit difficult to have the have the money without the 4-letter word. That is something that most of us have to, deal with. I mean, technically, this is kind of work for me right now. It just does not work for a specific company. It's more of like prep work for future companies that I may work with. So I guess it counts still. Okay, so we have, take it from me, it beats disability. I agree with you. I had to take disability for a few months, quite a few years ago, when I got a really bad concussion. And yeah, that, I'm right there with you. Like that disability, like the disability paycheck is like, okay, that's fine and great, but I kind of like working. You just want to work on the right things, right? Like if you work on something that makes you feel bad, that's terrible. If you work on something that makes you feel good, it's great. That's what we want to strive for. Okay, that thing here, let's just ignore this error. Okay, so CI/CD, before merge, after merge. I think, before merge into environment, I guess I need to add this in, which is auto merge, and deploy. I guess it's not really auto merge, deploy to environments. So like obviously if we want continuous integration, continuous deployment, you kind of have to have it automatically deploy. Now, I am okay with having a button that somebody clicks for deploy to production. So auto deploy to all environments. Okay, if button is required to deploy to production. That, for me, I would love to get away from it, to be able to like say, hey, whenever you deploy to the main branch, whenever you merge into the main branch, also deploy it to production. That being said, I have never seen a company that has their code set up in a way that actually supports that. Like they would actually be able to do that. You need so many things set up in place to be able to do that. Striving to be able to get to that point, I think, is a great thing to do. But I think we have to like accept that we can't just start there. Okay, so we have that. Looking over here on our list to the right, container setup. I think that's kind of app environments. So I think local dev machine in containerized, I think. So it needs to be containerized. I am okay if it's not Docker, which is why I'm saying containerized. If they choose any of the other technologies, that's perfectly fine. I think that it's just important to be able to like have a script that basically starts everything up, and it's not all just like a bunch of different, okay, install the database on your system, make sure it's the right version, install this thing on your system. The number I have noticed that with the sort of hiring problems that a lot of people are having, which it's very interesting. I'm seeing this on both sides. I'm seeing very difficult to find jobs as on the development side, and I'm also finding it very difficult to hire. Like companies are finding it difficult to hire at the same time, which is weird. Like it just shows that something weird is going on with the market, that both sides are having troubles with this. Usually if you have people that are like developers having trouble finding jobs, it's because there's less jobs available for them. And right now is this like weird case where the companies that there's jobs out there, but they're not able to be filled. Your son is having a terrible time trying to find a software engineering internship for next summer. Yeah, like this is one of the things that I'm hearing. But then if you like go into the companies that have internships, they're complaining about not being able to find software engineers to become interns. And it's interesting because then if you ask like, oh, do you want to like outsource or something like that? Is that why you're like having trouble? It's like, no, they're looking, they want like the old style of things. They just don't know how to find them. I think that there was so many recruiters and other people sort of like in that manager's position that got laid off, that a lot of the sort of glue work that kept companies being able to like hire and get hired, that's all sort of been interrupted, which really sucks because companies can't really stop. So it's just so rough right now. Okay, anyways, we were talking about containerization. I'm perfectly fine with containerization. I think that it needs to be containerized in some way. What that containers look like is okay for me. I don't care that it's Docker or not. I also don't care if it's like actually technically containerized, if they use some kind of virtual service. That's okay too. I'm just going to call it containerization, and they'd have to like convince me that it's similar to that. Delete boilerplate files. Yeah, so like that's just part of like a new app checklist, and I'm not really sure that would be part of this list here. Formatting and linting. Yeah, that's an important one. So as part of code quality, it's really code quality. It's really culture. So as part of culture, we want to have an agreed upon formatting and linting set up for the entire IT department. And that way, everything is like similar. You won't have sort of disagreements between one team lead and another team lead. Like you can have so many just absurd fights between like different developers and like, okay, we're going to use spaces versus tabs. And it's like, okay, that's great. We need to get the feature shipped, please. Stop worrying about like that. We just need to all agree upon this. You may not like use this in your personal projects, but that doesn't matter. It needs to be consistent across all of our features so we can use the same tools to check them all, right? Because as part of security and accessibility and testing, that also means we need to be consistent with how we code. Now, that being said, the IT department needs to set this up. This can't be sort of just pushed by the CTO. I would argue that the IT department should get together and review this regularly, which is actually going to be part of this. This is culture reviewed regularly. And then sort of any updates that they need to make to sort of keep it going is like injected in or projected out, like potentially for securing the IT department. Okay, so we're gonna have formatting tools. Formatting tools chosen, and now formatting tools, when I say something of formatting tools, because in the end, I don't really care if a company says, if a company wants to go all the way down to like, this is the editor you're using, that's okay. I'm not gonna like put it down as like a requirement for here, but there's tools within that are cross editors that I think are useful, like ESLint. Like if you're running with JavaScript, ESLint, like that could be the tool that you choose to use. Every editor out there, including Vim, supports that. So that's perfectly fine to require everybody to use that. And I'm okay with the other people saying like, hey, if you want to use Vim or whatever, that's perfectly fine too. I just think that the tools that you have within there, those are the things that we're focusing on here. So formatting tools, we have linting tools. So formatting tools and configuration. So a central JSON that configures prettier, let's say. And so we say like, hey, we're using prettier to configure for HTML, CSS, JavaScript, TypeScript, and here's the JSON file for that. Everything needs to have that. Which means as part of this, the call quality text, complexity text coverage, we throw in code formatted, code linted. A naming convention. This can be for file names, it can be for project names, it can be for function names. It could even be for using Pascal case versus snake case versus some other case. Naming convention can usually be thrown into the linting, but oftentimes it's also for like the apps themselves. You can have a naming convention. What else do we have in here? Oh, when we do work. So schedules, or lack of schedules. So something like, I'm a big fan of having an overlapping time that you set where meetings can be set, right? Like schedules for when meetings can be set. So something like East Coast time zone between 9 and 3, or 9 and 5, or whatever. Those are the only times that meetings can be scheduled. Everything outside of that is not allowed. And then if you live in an area that's not East Coast time, you now know what time that you're going to have to be available for meetings if they're on your calendar. And the company would have to sort of like choose what time zone to make that set. If everybody's in Pacific time zone, or if like they're in like Central European time zone, that makes it really easy. You just choose that as your primary. And then if you hire outside of that, you can then tell them in the interviews, we're all Central European time zone. All of our meetings are going to be at that time. Are you okay with that? Because that might mean you're staying up really late or getting up really early to make a meeting. I guess part of culture is also the meetings. Let's put this in here. I also do like stand-ups. Even if we're not in like a Scrum environment, I like stand-ups, but they need to be focused. So these are, I guess, like, do they have stand-ups is one thing. Are they focused on the plan for the day? So focus on planning work for the day. Keep on forgetting to add this space in there. Are they, let's see, okay, so they're focused on planning work for the day. Are they short? So less than 15 minutes, no matter the size of the team. And just to add this in here, they are not status updates for management or even the team lead. These are a stand-up cannot be a status update meeting. The second that it becomes a status update meeting or like for a manager of some kind, the entire point of the stand up is gone and you might as well not have the meeting anymore. Okay, so we've got that. Other meetings. Retros. Do we have retros? That's a big one. But even if we have a retro, okay, Alarm, hello. How are you doing today? I am back, yeah. And hello, Diablo. I am working on a checklist for businesses, but we're focusing on IT for right now. Basically, what makes a healthy, good, like amazing IT. This is not something I expect any company to be able to like have 100% on, but it is a way for me to get, well, I want to be able to use it to get a quick health check, essentially, on a company. It's like, because if they're missing a bunch of stuff from this, like a large amount of stuff from this, then it's like, okay, we now know what to focus on to get you to like a healthy place. If they're missing only a few things from this and they're like the really big sort of like, oh, these are tough things, they're in a really good position and they can start working on those things. I guess it's also a way to like determine like, who should you even be working on like something as complex as like automatically rollbacks when you don't even have linters set up. Like you still need to like figure that you don't even have CI/CD set up at all. Like don't even bother. Just like work on the basics first. Okay. Retros. I have had retros where managers are allowed, but managers from the team, right? Like it's just only managers, only team members, and sort of direct management. So that means like team leads, right? Good luck. Traditional bosses are too incompetent to understand these things. I fully agree. I guess like the context of me using this is also me being hired as a consultant for these bosses. So I don't actually need them to understand this. This is going to be a way for me to quickly judge how a company is operating and then talk to the managers to say like, this is what you need to have. Trust me on it. That's why you're paying me money. And you'll sort of like see good things happen once you get more of these checked off. That's pretty much what this is. Now, when I work with like a CTO, that's a different thing. A CTO should understand every single one of these checkboxes. And if they don't, that's a huge problem. And a lot of training needs to happen for that CTO at that point in time. So far, what my approach when I've been working with these companies this last year is mostly on education and educating team members, team leads, middle management, and also like CTO level to try to understand this more. I really try to avoid firing anybody or laying anybody off for skill purposes, unless it's like just egregious, like they really shouldn't be working there at all. Okay, so only team members and direct management. What are other things that we like that are really good to have in retrospectives? You did consultish for a decade, you met too many idiots who thought shit just magically happens. Yep, that happens. Even there's even plenty of like IT management who just think that shit magically happens. I've had a couple different times where various like the company itself, like departments in the company would say like, oh, your department has it easy because of X, and X being something completely unrelated and like not really relevant at all. So when I was in Denver and I was doing teaching for a code school, we were the only sort of like arm that was, well, we were the most profitable arm of the company. And so we were told, oh, yeah, you have it easy. Just Denver's is just better for teaching. Like there's just more students in Denver. It's like, okay, that's not true. We're getting more students because we've chosen to do a bunch of things in the culture side that really help us get more students. And they found that out when we all left due to decisions that was being made. And then just people dropped out. Like there was nobody showing up anymore. It's like, oh, it turns out that it wasn't that easy. Everything sort of became the same as all the other branches. So yeah, I've seen it a lot. Like, oh, it's easy to manage developers because of X. And it's like, no, it's not. It's easy because I set up a bunch of culture stuff. And then I defend that culture stuff really hard. Like that's the reason why part of culture needs to be culture reviewed regularly. Like that culture will degrade so fast. It's shocking how fast a culture can degrade. Okay, only team members and direct management. I want something that I think is really important is intro, or I guess like I don't want to word this. It's good for introverts and it's good for extroverts. So I guess think time added for introverts. And then discussion time added for extroverts. This I think is really important. Like I've seen companies actually go on both sides where it's actually happening like a lot more often than I'm seeing companies like set themselves up more for introverted employees, where they'll say, oh, we have tons of think time. We discuss things only online. Like there's no meetings where we have them over Zoom or something like that. But what's happening is the introvert, like people who are more introverted, are going to feel like a lot more energetic because of that. They're going to lose a lot less energy. But people who are extroverted lose energy from that and then feel like, they feel like they can't really think. Because a lot of times, like the people that I've met who are extroverted tend to need to talk to other people as part of their thinking process. You met programmers who can't read. Yeah, well, I can't help with that. That's gonna be, well, I mean, I guess that is part of culture here. Part of culture is gonna be accountability. We'll go into that in a little bit. Okay, so think time added for introverts, discussion time added, discussion time. added for extroverts. My playlist ended, so let me oh, it's been like an hour too since we started. I am gonna restart the playlist. Okay, and I set it to repeat and to shuffle, so hopefully it shouldn't be like the same music over everything. Okay, so think time, discussion time. Everybody speaks. So everybody contributes. That drains me so much. It's not even working with them. It's just people online asking stupid questions. I think me doing 3 years of like classroom teaching, and that means like looping through to doing like introduction to programming teaching for 3 years. You're getting like the same questions over and over again, but they're different people asking them. That requires us to get really used to just answering the same questions over and over and over again and not being frustrated, because if I showed frustration when I'm answering that will shut somebody down from learning, and that's not good. Like nobody wants that. That's how people stop learning math. Like a lot of people drop out of math in like high school or so, where they've just been traumatized by education and never want to touch that again. If you've never been to the Rust IRC channel, don't. Good warning. I will not. I have not been to the Rust IRC channel. I haven't done anything IRC in years. Okay. Retros, everybody. I think management responds to retros quickly. This is where I see like when people say, oh, retros aren't useful, there's no purpose for a retro, what I usually understand is going on is, uh-oh, did I lose network again? I didn't see a drop. I did. Okay. It's back. I am not thrilled that OBS doesn't show any dropped frames at all. There's 0 drop frames. I used to use that for my determination if things were not working very well. Now, I don't know what I'm gonna have to use to figure out if things are not working. Like my preview is just showing that I have like that blue screen with whatever the emote is, like the upset emote. That looked to me like just a standard satellite internet, like switching internet, switching satellites or something, and there's like a little bit of a brief switch, which is unfortunate. Okay. You learned a lesson not to refresh the tab in case it's on your end or you get to watch more ads. Oh, yeah. I did turn off ads, didn't I? I turned off all ads, which means there's no mid-roll ads, which I should probably do like an ad break thing again, which turns off ads for everybody else. Also, re-education and documentation. There are different kinds of it. I think I saw there are 4 kinds. I can name 3. QA, the verbose, wordy bullshit, and working examples. There are no correct fits, all solutions, and dealing with people who use all different kinds than you is hard. Yes, absolutely. There are frameworks, and there are things in education that that are needed to do per education. And we could do like an education sort of theory stream sometime. That'd be a lot of fun to just sort of geek into education and how that works, because there's so much really cool stuff about that. Okay, you know what? I am going to add in a checklist for myself to set up ads properly on Twitch again. I'll do that before the Friday stream. It'll be one of those things where it's like every hour we'll have like 3 minutes of ads. We'll use that as like a break time where we'll just get up and take a break. But that'll be better than everybody getting ads again whenever anything sort of drops. Babilo, hello. You've learned Rust course from me. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad you were able to learn that. I'm glad it was helpful. Okay. What was I talking about? Oh, retros. Management responds to retros quickly. Yes, this is really important. When I've seen retros fail, it's usually due to management just ignoring anything that comes from the retros. Now, when I say management, that could be the team leads. So like if team lead finds out that the team is unhappy because of like a linter rule is just causing them so much pain and discomfort and it's like slowing them down. But then, like even a couple days go by and you just don't do anything about that, people will stop trusting the retros because it's just a place for you to complain and then nothing happens from that. It's important that even with the small things, you want to respond to that. And that doesn't mean that you have to implement. It doesn't mean that you're going to be held hostage to the team where like, hey, we want to make it 3 spaces for everything. And like let, the trolls come out and just sort of like dictate, oh, hey, we're going to do 3 spaces for, instead of tabs or whatever. And we also want to like have cursive font for everything. So because of that, it's recommended to respond to those really, 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 really quickly. Oh, you know what? Another thing that I realize is I think I turned on Twitch's like high. I think I like made it like try to go like really fast or like low. I forget what the words for those are. I probably should turn that off again, which I think is a Twitch setting, because I have no idea if YouTube is dropping or not. I'm not watching YouTube directly. You hate bike shedding. It's why I use Rust. We format it one way. And yet, there is now an alternative formatter for Rust because people didn't like that there was only one formatter for Rust. And now we can have that argument again if companies wanted. Low latency. That's exactly it. Yeah. But yeah, I think that bike shedding it's good to avoid bike shedding when possible. At the same time, making sure that people have voices and can talk is important too, because sometimes there are things that feel like bike shedding, but might not be bike shedding. Or at least like, maybe a team member thinks like, ooh, this is if I just complain, I'm going to be yelled at again, and I don't want that. And meanwhile, they're talking about, their environment variables are like posted to GitHub and anybody can read the secret keys. It's like, oh, I don't want to bike shed that. It's like, no, 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 that's a good thing. You should let everybody know that there's a security vulnerability. Do they know they can reconfigure the REST formatter? But then again, reconfigure the REST formatter, we're back to bike shedding with that, right? Because now you can argue about like formatting things per team. And it's like, okay, that's why I think it's important to do that here. Formatting tools and configuration per language. It's like at the IT level, we're going to use Rust. Great. Here's the configuration we use for Rust for the entire department. We're going to use JavaScript. Here's the configuration and tools we're going to use for JavaScript. It can be done with inline directives to do it on a per object basis. Once again, I think that's going to be like a tool, like a decision that you make it's like a policy. It's like, hey, are we going to allow that or not? I think that you should be able to allow that, but that I'm not in control of like everybody's tools. What I'm looking for here is like, has a company considered it? And are they like, did they consider it and choose one or another? Or are they just sort of allowing everybody to just do whatever they want? Is it Wild West in their own company? Yeah, and I can see that works. And also, like, these documents should be a living document. Like, if a company starts with saying, okay, every struct starts with a capital letter, we're just going to go with the default there. And then later on you find, ooh, this is like the one time where we want a struct without a capital letter. And that's fine. And it makes sense. Then we can, you could just like have the team member add that in. And it shouldn't necessarily even be we have to have like a big meeting for it. The team members should have their capabilities of like adding these in, unless of course you get to like Google size, then probably I'm not really like, this isn't really a checklist for a Google size company. They're never going to hire me for something like this. I tend to focus on getting hired by small companies that are less than 100 employees. And so those companies tend to be the ones that are struggling adapting from super small startup to moving forward. Oh yeah, that's true too, Diablo, because it is done per line. But like, I could also see like, with TypeScript saying like, hey, no any, no any type. Like that can be a hard rule. And then every once in a while, like, well, except for this one. This one is the reason why we have to use the any type. But you probably want to have a policy where it's like, if you're going to use the any type, you need to have at least like one senior dev come in and check that with you. It's like, ooh, actually, no, there's a better way of doing this. Okay. Management. Every time I hear the music pause for a second, I'm like thinking, oh, there's something that happened internet wise. But then I look over and I'm like, nope, I'm 3,000 kilobits per second heading up, which is odd because I thought I set this to be a maximum of 3K and it's sending more than that up, which is fun. Ooh, I'm going up and down a lot right now. Down to less than 1,000 now, 1,500, 1,100. I'm waiting for it to try to restabilize. Yeah, remember if you're looking at your stream, it's 3 seconds in a pastish. Yeah, that's true. When I was in Hawaii, my stream went to something like 5-minute delay, which was insane. It might have been even a bigger delay than that. It does make me wonder whether or not Restream is not super happy about my being on satellite internet. We could try a stream just to Twitch, because I don't really think I get too many viewers on YouTube. Like, I know a couple of you have stopped by and said hi, but like all the chat is on Twitch right now. And that does seem to be the culture. Like, I've seen everybody swung to YouTube for a while for streaming, and then everybody swung back to Twitch. So that's kind of fun. So maybe Friday we'll try a Twitch only stream and see how that goes. Okay, I feel like it stabilized a little bit. You refuse to use satellite. Yeah, well, I don't really have much of a choice with where I am right now. There's literally no other internet besides dial-up. And I don't even know how many of you ever use dial-up in your life, but there's no way I don't want to go rent an office and spend the money on that just to stream to y'all. Or like, I guess I could go and sit in front of like a Starbucks coffee in a car and stream from there, but I don't want to do that either. And where I am, my cell phone doesn't get good enough signal to use that too. You did, yeah. I get to out all the people who are my age. Okay, I should probably also rearrange my stream room to move my desktop a little bit closer to the Wi-Fi. That might work too, but that might be a little while before I can get to that. Used it when that's all you had. ISDN was the only alternative. Oh, I remember ISDN. I never had to use the ISDN. But yeah, I remember when 56K dial-up came out, and that was amazing. I have more than a few gray hairs now. It was a pain not to be able to use the phone. Oh yeah, a lot of people got multiple phone lines, so you could be connected to the internet all the time and use the phone at the same time. Okay. It seems like we're relatively back, but sort of jumping up and down. So we'll see how this goes. All right. So we did retros. And these are important. This last one is like the most important part of it. Let's see. Anything else? Felt like there was something. Oh, you know what? That is part of culture. Yeah, this is in here. Oh, we have accountability too. But part of culture is going to be actually just management. We'll get to that in a second. Accountability. So holding I'm a big believer that the team should hold the team accountable for things. This is the only way that a team is going to be able to get autonomy. Why can't I'm having trouble like in my mind spelling it to then pronounce it properly. Autonomy. It's super important for a team to be able to have autonomy, means they have to have accountability. And by accountability, that means they hold each other accountable. So team members call out when each other are, and call out is maybe the wrong word for it, because that feels like they're like, oh, I'm gonna turn you in. It's like, that's not really it. Team members talk to each other when underperformance happens. So this isn't like a turning each other and go like, you're underperforming, I'm gonna throw you under the bus so that you get, in trouble and I get like praise. It's more of like, hey, team member, I noticed that you have like, you used to be doing like been coding like a lot, and now you're just like not really doing much work. Is everything okay? Like, what can we do to support you? How do we get you like back on track? It's like, oh, you're going through a bunch of tough times right now. That's okay. We'll take up the slack with the, you coming back. Like, right? Like the assumption is you're going to come back. And if that never happens, then another discussion needs to be had. So one-on-ones. So really this is just management, isn't it? So one-on-ones, at least every 2 weeks. So a team lead should be having a one-on-one with their team members at least once every 2 weeks. Once a week is perfectly fine too. Skip level one-on-ones at least every month. So if there's like a director or a VP or something like that, they're having one-on-ones not just with the team leads, but also with individual developers. Having that be like at double the cadence, I think is perfectly fine, because that is a lot of meetings. I do see a lot of managers complain, like, I'm having so many meetings, like, I just want to get work done. And the answer for that is, what do you think your work is? Your work is to help your team do work, not to do the work yourself. So if you don't want to do all this stuff, then we need to talk about like what management means to you. Okay. We have skip level one-on-ones. Okay, we have bad behavior is not necessarily called out, but responded to immediately. Sometimes when you want it done right, you do it yourself. Yes. I'm going to put a question mark on there, though, because oftentimes, if you want it done right, you also have to ask yourself, do you want it? Is this like a one-off where you're only ever going to do this one time at all, ever? Because if that's true, if you're only ever going to do this once, then yeah, go ahead and just do it yourself. Get it done. But if this is something that like is going to be done more than once, or I mean, to be honest, even if it's only ever going to be done once, there's a lot of like things that you learn from it. It's good to have the team work on it if possible. Like, managers definitely do need to jump into the code quite often. Like, I do recommend that, but I see so often like a team leads taking the fun, hard projects themselves because they're the manager. I think the manager, and this is what I was taught by a Kyle. So, one of the management things I was taught, you as a manager should only be doing the things that only you can do. And then the team should be doing everything else. You should lean heavily on them because they're going to grow so much more if you throw all the things that they can do at them. Now, don't overload them. Like if they're struggling because they have too much work to do and you have room and capacity, then jump in and help them out. But it shouldn't be like this is just how we operate on a day-to-day thing. Like there's plenty of times where as a manager, the thing I would love to do is code. The thing that only I can do is go talk to the CTO and, play interference for the team. And the things that are fun to do are the coding stuff that I'm going to make the team do. I'm at the weird part of my life where I swear I'm going to write my own editor. World has enough editors. I mean, there's reasons to write more stuff. Like, it used to be, I guess it still is, the general rule of thumb when like building any product is if someone else is like a leader in that space, you shouldn't even touch it. But there's been so many subversions of that rule across the years that it's like, no, if like just choose why you're going to do it. Are you doing it because you want to learn, or are you doing it because like they're just like features missing that they just refuse to add in? If it's something like you can add in better stuff to it, that's a perfectly adequate reason to build something in a completely saturated space. Look at Facebook before Meta. So Facebook, when it came out, there was already, like, it wasn't the beginning of social media. It came out in an already saturated social media space. And those of us who were there at the time that it existed, or at a time that it came space, there was a couple other ones too, I remember. And Facebook was just another one of them that were coming in. But they managed to do it better, not necessarily code, like the code wasn't better, but feature wise it was better in almost every way. And because of that, they won really quickly. A true craftsman should build his own tools. I have a course that I was thinking of teaching, and I've talked to like a multitude of other people about this, which I wanted to call Build Your Own Lightsaber, except I would get sued I'd get sued into oblivion if I actually named a course that. But the obviously a slight change in topics here. So Facebook never really took off. Well, from a business perspective, Facebook absolutely took off, right? Like it became one of the biggest businesses out there. It made so much money. Build your own laser sword. Yeah, that we'll do that one. But yeah, all right. I have two topics active right now. Let's finish the Facebook one, and then I'll jump into the lightsaber one. So from a business perspective, we can say that Facebook took off. We can argue about that from like other perspectives, but it doesn't really matter. I think though the idea is that they got tons of you can create a competing product in a saturated space if you can beat the incumbents at their own product. Now, sometimes you do need to be in stealth mode for this, like super stealth mode, because a company like Google or Microsoft or Amazon, if they discover that your product is better than theirs and that's who you're competing with, they do have the resources to try to just rebuild your product really fast, faster than you. So like you can, if you let them know what's happening before you get to market and make a bunch of money, they can just like completely take the wind out of your sails. If, however, they just completely fail at building a product because they just don't know how to build stuff, we've seen this before, then you don't have to be stealth at all. You can just build a really, really awesome products, take all of their, you don't even take people from them because they use both the tools at the same time. And then usually you get bought by one of them for millions and millions and millions of dollars, or billions sometimes. Think of WhatsApp or Instagram. Those are competing models that were already saturated and came in with a better product and then got bought for billions of dollars by the companies that they were competing with. Their businesses sell data, not run social media. Well, yeah, that's true, but from a did they succeed by making lots of money perspective? Yes, we can say that they were very successful. Are they continuing to be successful now? Completely different conversation. Yeah, and that's very true. Social media companies before them are very different. All right, let's end that topic and now talk about lightsabers. Although we're not really talking about lightsabers, it's really just a metaphor. So, I one time wanted to, or I still have this idea of like making a course that could be called build your own lightsaber, or build your own, or tool, in the idea of like Star Wars, like the Jedis. You don't become a full Jedi Knight until you've built your own lightsaber. Like, isn't that like the graduation is like you go training where they hand you a lightsaber and they're like, hey, you're like you're in training now, but then you can't really graduate until you go out and build it yourself. And they don't even give you instructions. It's like the Force tells you how to build it. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say the Force needs to tell you how to program to build your own tools, but I think the idea remains the same. It's important to not just choose tools because they're handed to us, or that's the only ones you know. You need to learn enough and then be able to build the tools if the tools out there aren't working for you. So something like video glitch that just repeated 3 seconds. Possibly my audio glitched for a second. I have very little way for me to tell that on this side though. Anyways, I think it's stable again. To reiterate, being able to like build your own tools if necessary, I think is really important. And I would say like the first most important lightsaber of anybody, like any developer's toolkit, is productivity. Like if you can set up your own productivity system, be that using something that exists already, but like in a whatever way works for you, creating your own, like coding it, doesn't matter. You just need to set up productivity that works for you. And then you need to like then choose all of your tools that you're going to work with. Are you going to be working with are you going to be working with editors? Do the editors work for you? If not, like, can you edit the editors? Can you like create mods to like make it exactly the way you want it to be, or configure it the way you want it to be? Or as you sort of like got to Diablo, maybe you need to build your own editor because everything out there just isn't, like, it's getting in your way more than helping. And it's sort of at certain stages, you build more and more things in your toolkit. So the lightsaber isn't like an actual single device like it is in Star Wars. The lightsaber in reality represents your entire workstation everywhere around you. I don't know. I don't feel like I can really turn that into anything right now. It's still sort of like a thought process, but that's what I've got. You have to be able to build your own since it requires force powers to handle the kyber clusters without blowing up in your face. Didn't my understanding is that you could use another lightsaber, but you won't be able to like throw force powers into the lightsaber, right? Because like you don't know how much like force it can do. So like all the clever little cool things like using the lightsaber to block lightning or whatever you couldn't do if it was not built by yourself. I guess that's right. Is that right? I don't know if that's right. Okay. Anyways, that was that's not at all related to any of this. But that's just sort of like I've been thinking of for a course for a while. You kind of hate how Vim and NeoVim have never been quite what I want. And that's one of the things is like we have to decide, is the building of a new tool, the time it takes for that, going to be worth the benefit from it? And sometimes absolutely it is, and sometimes it is not. Lightsabers are an extension of you. It's like crafting your own sword. Yeah. Although I don't think most swordsmen in history ever crafted their own sword. I think most swordsmen just found a sword and got to know it so well that it became an extension of them. But of course, more swordsmen in real life didn't have magical force powers either. So like there's that too. Okay, so management here is a really okay. OBS came back. It's funny, OBS goes down for a lot longer than my internet goes down for. Internet goes down for a couple seconds at most. And OBS is just like, well, you're completely done. Chantilly, hello. George Lucas stole the idea from a swordsman who did craft. There's a lot to talk about in just like rearranging things, as like that is how you create new things. F again? Oh. Un F. Okay. That's helpful. If you let me know in chat when it goes down, because like I can't. Sometimes I can see the disconnect in OBS, and sometimes OBS is just showing 2000 kilobits per second and it's out. Also, my stream preview has been frozen for like an hour. But I blame the Twitch app for that, because they've never had a great app. Okay. Team norms. So we're gonna have team norms. We're gonna have department norms. And I think team norms, department norms, and then management norms, I think are really good. So like the leadership norms, I guess. Well, that's really interesting, Diablo. I wonder if it's repeating because the internet sort of like had a little bit of troubles, and so it just repeated instead of having like a blank screen. That feels like an interesting choice. I wonder if I can. I've never seen anything from Restream on my ability to set latency. That would be really nice. Like, yeah, there's nothing here that I could do. But for Twitch, why do we not have a VI in Rust? We have editors in Rust, but not a truly daily use VI. What do you mean VI? Like a Vim or VI type thing? Let's see. I want to go to settings, stream. I'm getting pauses in my music again, which is usually a sign of not great. Normal. Okay, I want normal latency. Okay, is that automatically saved? I think that just automatically turns on. Okay, so I just turned on normal latency mode for Twitch. I don't see a save button for it. So hopefully that just worked already. Okay, yeah, VI Vim. I mean, you can set up all of the stuff in VI Vim to work with Rust. I think Togglebit has done that. I don't know if Togglebit is using NeoVim or not. I'm using Helix, so that's a VI VM type thing. It's written in Rust too, so that's a thing. And I'd say it's working pretty well for me. I enjoy it. I do have trouble with Helix and working with web technologies, specifically when you have like multiple languages at the same exact time. It's a little bit rough. Now you're having problems. Is Twitch dying? It maybe. Oh yeah. So yeah, it might be dying slightly. Not sure. I'll have to play around with this to see if I can fix it. You did Helix for a year, it's not quite there. Are there any features that you're missing in Helix? Because they have updated recently. So maybe they have something more that you want. The most recent thing that Helix added, we now have a file a tree. Which is nice. A file explorer, I guess, is it's not fully featured. That would be nice to sort of add that in there, but they have they're getting there. It's slowly moving forwards. I'm really happy about that. All right, norms created, team, department, leadership norms. These are really important. These are just sort of like actually documenting out what the culture is going to be for the team. It's going to be things like how and what we do. So it's gonna be things like we always ask questions when we have them. We always, we pair always. We pair sometimes. We pair, never or whatever. Like just this is how we work. And then I always like to add into the norm is like a word is chosen to, and the word is like if a norm is being violated, the word helps you get reset for that. I've heard multiple different types of words being used for this. I think they can be really fun. Being fun is like probably better. Okay, we got that. Let's go into security. All right, so with security, and also missing Helix missing scripting. Steel isn't in the main branch yet. Yeah, the having mod support for Helix is gonna be a pretty big game changer as soon as that comes out. I was able to add in like my own custom thing. So like if I do space T right now, I can do something like that. I then have my own sort of like setup for this, which is really nice. No, I have Matrix, but I never turn it on. I never log into Matrix. I don't know why. Like I think it was too many communication options. Discord and Slack are like the only two ones that I really ever turn on. And then Slack, I'm not even really paying that much attention to Slack, except for Rand's leadership is like the only Slack channel that I really pay attention to. And even then, like I'm not in that many channels on there. Oh, I think the thing I was thinking about before was cyclomatic complexity. So we want okay, so we want to I want to say something like the secure bot or whatever it's called on GitHub, but I don't want to say that it's GitHub's because I don't care which one it is. Basically, like stay on top of library versions. Auto patching servers. You just go where projects go. I think the problem is that there's so many different ones, and then I get overwhelmed by the messages. Then I just mute them, and then it's like, well, why am I here? Am I just muting them all? I'm for Helix because I am like, there's not too many people that are using Helix on Twitch. I probably should join in that. I can add that to my to-do list. Generic term for GitHub is a forge. Really? I did not know that. Although I think SecureBot is like, I don't know if there's a generic term for that. Basically, we want to stay on top of library, I guess, / framework versions. We want to auto patching servers. We want to check for exposed keys. I guess exposed passwords, keys. We want HTTPS for all deployed servers. or like all deployed apps. They're secure bot clones. Okay, so basically with something like secure bot. Did I mean secure est? No. All right, stay on top of the library frameworks, auto patching servers for, I guess like backups for computers. Let's just do another one for backups for servers, databases. Test restores for computers. Test restores for servers, databases. The number of times that I've seen the same companies say like, yeah, we have backups, we run them every day. And it's like, okay, well, when was the last time you tested it by restoring something? And they're like, why would we do that? All right. Thank you, Asitsu. That is so funny. Asitsu and Diablo, you're off by like 5 seconds from each other. I wonder if like the constant going up and down is causing a weird random delays between all of you, which kind of makes sense. Okay, stores for servers and databases. Oh, you got the ads. Yeah, sorry about that. I will fix that by Friday. And by fix it, I mean force everybody to watch ads once per hour, but then we're all just gonna walk away from the computers while the ads are playing. That's my plan for that. Okay, test restores for servers and databases. Is there anything else? Oh, we have onboarding. Like onboarding set up. That's actually like part of security. There might be like onboarding checklist. And an offboarding checklist. I guess I'll do that. Offboarding checklist. Let's see. I think that's enough for security for right now. Testing. So, oh, I just got a hitch. Oh, that was faster, Diablo. All right, thank you for that. I should probably I'm going to do to create internet down testing where required. I'm okay. Down again. I'm okay with some of the unit tests not existing, but I'm not okay with like end-to-end tests not existing. And then I think striving for at least 85% code coverage. And maybe, I mean, I can go as low as 80% code coverage. Obviously, 100% code coverage means that you have tests for everything, but I have noticed if you require 100% code coverage, you generally start getting just completely useless tests that like technically cover it. 80% code coverage seems to be a pretty sweet spot where you get really good testing, and it also helps build the habit of like just building tests for stuff, but doesn't make you fear too much that like, oh, what if I missed one test here or there? Like we want people to not like be afraid of the tools, but to also like have them be a guide for building habits, which is, moving towards testing. And 80% test coverage is doable. Test to spec and known bugs, IMO is the best. Yes, I agree. Oh, so that means also like happy path testing. And then also just sort of like when bugs are discovered, tests are created. Now, I'm a big fan of TDD when a bug for bug fixing. Like, I'm a huge fan of requiring TDD for bug fixing because you already have the bug there. You should, like, you want to recreate it as a test and then go and do the rest of it. I'm perfectly fine for not using TDD for pretty much the rest of development. Now, you want to have like tests in mind, but they don't necessarily have to be automated tests built ahead of time. You just need to know what you're going to do ahead of time, which can get into like semantics of what testing really is, which is an argument. Like that's a discussion, but I like this because like this is how you're going to get to 100% coverage is eventually is like when bugs are discovered, tests are created. And then also, because reality is a thing, striving for at least 80% code coverage on new code, on code being touched. So if a team is working on a legacy app and they've never had testing coverage beforehand, this is a great way of making sure you start growing a test base without losing everything. Oh, did I lose? No, that just changed videos. Accessibility considerations. Okay, so this I think lighthouse testing. So lighthouse tests added to test suite. I think also considerations is like actually a partial F. I don't even know what a partial F would mean. I guess like it like did that repeat thing where it like repeated itself for 3 seconds or so. Okay, so accessibility lighthouse tests added to test suite. We want to consider what accessibility features to add. Oh, stuttering. Yeah, that's not fun. My drop frame still 0%, so it's not due to that. It does make me a little bit concerned that maybe like the new OBS version, I could drop us down maybe next. So on Friday, I'm planning on streaming again, same time around 9 a.m. Pacific time. I'm going to try 30 frames per second. Like we're doing coding here. We don't need 60 frames per second. That might help a lot too. Accessibility considerations. So we have Lighthouse test added to test suite. Consider what accessibility features to add. Automated. Linter configured for accessibility. My YouTube playlist just ended or just froze. So I think we're in a big F, but I can't tell because it's a window across the room and so I can't fully see it. But the music did stop. But I'm actually still connected to Restream. No drop frames. CPU's just fine. Yeah, that's weird. Or maybe that was just that song had a long pause at the end of it. I have no idea. The music is gaslighting me. Linter a linter configured for accessibility testing. One of the biggest things I like about Playwright for testing framework is because they just have accessibility testing built into that, and you just use it, and it's I like that a lot. I think also for testing, we want to have a manual testing checklist created and then shared around so that everybody can access this. And if like a team lead or somebody says, I want you to do a manual test of that, everybody knows exactly what that means, because there's been a few times where I work at a company and there's been some like questions about stability of the app. And, I've asked, the team, hey, can you, after doing like this major feature, can you do a full test, like a full manual test of the suite? I don't mean like, yes, the automated test run, but I would like at least someone to go through and try everything manually. And yes, I know that's going to take a huge amount of time out of your day to do, but right now we have like the CEO and other people are no longer trusting that things are working fine. So you saying the automatic testing are working is not going to make people feel good. Just test it all manually and create a list of what's not working right. And usually when that happens, they find stuff. Linting, goddamn, I hate languages that predate linting culture. C and C++ needs to die, period, full stop. Too many developers just don't know how to use the tools because they're not built into your language. I mean, yeah, a lot of linting tools don't exist back there, and like there's linting tools now, but yeah, they're not going to require it because of old, legacy purposes. So yeah, I would just say like, let's just continue focusing on normalizing linting. Linting is just so important, especially if we are enabling and allowing our devs to use AI to like code and stuff. Having the linters double check the AI is so important, because so often AI is just not creating stuff that like matches anything that's in the code base already. And that can be really dangerous. Yeah. And like another thing, something I haven't put in here at all is quality. So automated code review. So to me, a lot of that is like linting. So linting, just like naming convention, stuff like that. A lot of these things, like when I've noticed developers doing code reviews, a lot of times they're really just doing things like checking linting and naming conventions. I have a very hot take on code reviews, which a lot of other developers do not agree with me whatsoever on this. I don't like code reviews. I feel that code review is too late. It's like you can only use code review to stop a project, like something from being deployed. You can't like add code review to, you can't like code review quality into a project. One of the ways that I described to a developer was, if you find an architectural problem in a code review, it's too late. Like, it's way too late. There's a lot of work that's already been done on top of that broad architecture, and there's always going to be time pressure to like get stuff sent out. Oh, F. Multiple Fs, long F. Yeah, code review is only a circuit breaker. It's there to prevent a failure in prod. Exactly. Push all of that farther to the left, which we by saying, like, in America, it's like we read left to right, so therefore we talk left to right, as in development starts on the left and then moves to the right through like the Kanban board. I'm guessing no F there yet. Oh, interesting. My YouTube video playlist like froze for a second, so I was assuming that was due to internet, but I guess not. So yeah, code review, like, I think that you can get rid of code review if you do a lot more pairing, and I don't necessarily feel that pairing needs to be a 24/7 type thing. Like you always only pair, although certain teams could choose to do that. But I do feel that having like having a review happen while the code is going on is a lot better than having a review happen after the coding has finished, because circuit breaker is a great way of causing a lot of waste. Because what do you do with that stuff? Like, it's bad and you know it's bad, and your choice is just start doing it, like go and redo it again, or just push it anyways, knowing that it's shit code. And that's terrible. Like, nobody wants to deploy it after it's after they know it's terrible, but also you don't have a choice because, you know, you've contractually obligated to deploy something. Yeah. Well, I don't want to get into the politics left and right thing. I've never looked into the history about why it's like directional type things, but whatever. It's, I think, like, to me, it's like a Kanban type thing. If you look at, like, usually we have the cards moving from ready in the left and then done in the right. And so if we shift things left and we don't have a column for code review, but code review is part of dev, that's, to me, is the most important thing. And then sort of like not necessarily put it into here. So like quality is automated code review, naming convention, and then part in here is architecture review. I guess like just code review happens during coding. And so this might look like an architect or a senior dev routinely pairing with the more junior devs throughout the day. And it doesn't mean 100% pairing. It could mean, oh, hey, I'm going to sit down with you before you code this, and we're going to go over the architecture. We're going to go over the patterns you're planning on using. And then like just sort of making sure that they got everything set up. Basically being aware of which developers in your team have the skills and that you can trust to make the right decisions, and which developers you want to pair with on like certain types of coding decisions. If it's something like, oh, we're just changing the color of this from green to blue, who cares? Like, just let them do that, and you don't have to like really review the code. You have to review the end result. But if it's like adding this brand new feature, which is going to be like potentially requiring to do a big change of the architecture, you should probably have a senior touching that code the entire time, which usually means pairing. Like have a junior also be with the seniors. They can learn that they can do that more on their own too. I recommend adding that in there at all times, or at least often enough, because then you have more seniors on your team that can make these decisions without people working on it. There's a big sort of like, I learned all this stuff based upon Turn the Ship Around by Captain David Marquet, where he learned that the hard way by like, oh, we're going to trust everybody to do everything. And then somebody almost, caused a massive injury and electrocution. It's like, okay, there's certain people that you can trust and there's certain people you can't trust. Your job is to figure out as a manager who those people are, give autonomy to the people you can trust, and mandatory pairing with people you can't trust yet. I'd add to your notes, by the way, the bit I said about linting formatting editor config files in the repo. Yes, that's a really good one. And I think formatting tools and configuration, linting tools and configuration, and then this is configuration. So shared configuration files in repos. So yeah, fully agree with that. Yeah, you should be able to load a project in whichever editor select should be configured correctly in a project level. Yeah, VS Code does that. All of the IDEs do that. Like even Helix will do that. And that's because they're not like editor specific. They're just those tools specific. And they're all like just put into the root of the project and you're fine with that. Mono repo tools, I'm not super familiar with those, but there's still abilities to do that. Zilby, you want to come here? Zilby walked in and is not at all interested in coming up here to say hi. Okay, so let's see. We got here to quality, and there's not much more in quality. Automated code review happens during coding. I guess like one thing is so QA training devs on quality. I think that's like a really big thing, because I'm really big on the idea of not necessarily hiring a huge number of QA people, but have like one or two QA specialists who go around to the teams and then train the teams on how to do QA properly and like help them set up automated tests and everything else. So they sort of like become technical QA people. I do not like a QA being a manual process where you just hire a non-technical QA person that just touches everything all the time. Yeah, I agree with all those things for the editors. Yeah. Let's see. We got formatting and linting, feature test setup. That's part of testing, unit test setup, smoke testing, accessibility test plan. So yeah, that's the full test plan basically set up. Update. Oh, documentation. That's a huge thing. So documentation means we're going to have dev facing, so internal documentation. So that's just going to be where projects are. Point of contacts for projects like and services. What I mean by that is like, who's the point of contact for, you know, everything AWS? And that might not be like the person who knows the most, but it might be someone like who's the person you need to contact for increasing the amount of money that we spend on AWS. Something like that. Having that documented out so that way it's not just like hidden information is huge. Okay, so internal documentation. So where projects are, point of contacts for the projects. And then we have, so external documentation. This is company documentation. So again, like where deployed projects are. Why projects exist, and then also how to use projects or apps, from our point of view. The idea is that this is like the demos. I love these as the demos that we give to customer service or support or whatever you call this. Yes, and I agree with that. And then readmes in each project, and then those are going to be like how to set up the project, links to other documentation regarding the project. So something like where the company documentation for this is, where to find the points of contacts for anything related to that. Let's see, how to set the project. And then like, I guess links. Yeah, I guess the other documentation is like going to include everything else about that. For each of these, I also recommend having a template. So like document templates created. I should be able to read the README and know exactly what this thing does, how to build it, and if I type those exact commands and follow the directions exactly and it doesn't build, that's a bug. Agreed. Yes. Ooh, where issues are, like where issues exist. So oftentimes the issues that like the issue tracking is not in the same repo as the code itself. Think Jira, for example. So many companies use Jira that I can probably just say Jira, and like 99% of the time, that's what a company I'm working with is going to be using. If oftentimes like the bugs you're going to be tracking are going to be in Jira, but the code is in GitHub or something like that. So we want to know, where do the issues exist? How do you add an issue? Libby, wanna stop crunching your box? No? Okay. Jira makes you sad. I mean, I sometimes feel that I need to like set up Jira just for myself because so many companies use it. I need to like just keep myself on top of any changes that Jira has and features and all that stuff, because it's just so important. Especially the more managerial I become, the more important it is for me to understand the management side of Jira. But I also don't want to do that, so I rarely do it. I think I created a Brooks Builds Jira and then I never used it. Okay. For right now, there's probably documentation company-wide. So if I add in like not IT, this is going to be like customer support. They are going to absolutely need documentation. So they need internal. Internal, how to use this themselves. And then they also need external, how a customer uses it. You don't want to pay Microsoft, but you'd rather pay them for GitHub Enterprise. Okay, so you'd use GitHub Enterprise. So the only other one that I've heard a lot of people use is Azure, like whatever Azure's Jira replacement thing is. That's true. Jira can be good, but nobody understands how to set up complex workflows with this. Jira falls into the same problem that I have with Salesforce. It's so configurable that it becomes way too complex really fast. I once explained it to somebody as Jira is great, but because you can do too many things, you need to make sure that like management doesn't start configuring Jira and it's the devs who configure Jira, because otherwise they're going to make Jira a nightmare for development. Oh, Azure's is rebranded GitHub Enterprise. Oh, I did not know that, but that's good to know. I've never used it, so I would be lost if I'm sort of playing around with it for the first time. Analytics are good. So analytics, we need to choose like one analytics service. Like if the company wants to use Google Analytics, that's perfectly fine, but use one analytics stuff. Like having to pay New Relic that also does analytics, and to pay Datadog, and to pay like, a couple other ones. It's like, that's going to be a waste of money. Yeah, Jira tried to become Salesforce-like, and that was a mistake, and so did the price. Yeah. Jira, you can do everything with it. Salesforce, you can do everything with it, and it's just so hard to use now. And there's so many like different... I keep on getting caught by Jira's like, oh, I wanted to create a project. Oh, the simple project would work. And then like half the features don't work because half the features don't support simple projects. It's like, why did you even... Why? That doesn't make any sense. Anyways, that's just me complaining about Jira, which is, I don't know, like required for being a developer. I don't know. Feels like it sometimes. Analytics. Okay, so we choose one analytics service. I guess it's not really choose one analytics service. I guess this is a checklist, right? That we have it. So one analytics service. We only have one analytics service. We have multiple of them. It just means you have to go to many different sources to like find the truth of what's going on, and you want to have like one out there. We want a front end like Tableau, or Power BI, or Grafana, being the free version. Is that how you spell? Oh, IAMS is like has requirements for theirs, but nobody listens to them. Oh no, F. Which is so weird because I'm stable. My internet's stable right now. Oh, it's ads. Okay, enough. We're back. Something that I think is important for analytics here is targets for success and failure. Too many times I've seen companies be really excited when their analytics are showing like a small uptick of people. So like maybe they spend a lot of time building a feature, and they put that feature out, and then they get like, oh, like 20 more people use this feature. And it's like, great, but we needed like 500 more people using that feature. Like 20 people using the feature once is kind of not great. There's something going wrong there. But because it's an uptick, you might like celebrate with that when you should not be. You should be like asking, ooh, what's going on? If you have the target ahead of time before you deploy it, then you'll go like, ooh, it's underneath the line that we're targeting. That's the problem. We should like figure that out. I also do want to maybe not add in the word failure there, because at the same time, I've seen people like do an A/B test where it was their idea. They put the test out there and people didn't choose to use it. It was like the same number of like signups with the other one, and they're like, oh, it was a failure. It's like, no, this is success. You just found out that the new thing that you're going to do has like, it's not the better way to do it. That's success. Successful test. HM Fakir Israr, hello. How are you doing? I'm doing pretty good. Although we're going to be ending pretty soon because I'm getting hungry and I'm going to have to go get lunch pretty soon. Analytics lie because they're statistics. Which law is the one where it talks about any measure becomes the goal? That's true. That's a completely different thing, which I'll have to like figure out how to add into this checklist for making sure we're measuring the right things. That's like an education type thing of, I mean, measuring and targeting the right things. This is such a weird way to just say that. It's like the right things. That's so it's so abstract. I don't know. Like, I don't know the right. There's like so many different, like, it's gonna be one of those things where I have to listen to what their goals are, and then in my mind they go like, ooh, that's a bad metric because that's a goal, not a metric. Or that's a bad goal. That's a metric instead of a goal. Like, I guess for example, We can add in here for executive team. So if the annual goal, no, not the annual goals. If like the why, so they have a why and it is not money related. Yeah, Goodhart's law. Too often I've seen the executive team's goals be like make $50,000 per month or something like that. 50,000 is pretty low for a company, especially a company with like 50 employees. But it might be something like make $5 million per year as revenue. And that is so bad. That is like the worst possible like why that you could have. But yeah, the analytics from the IT's perspective should be like choosing a measure and target for success and then trying to hit that. And then also let's aligned targets with like corporate's goals. So something like we want to like a good why for a company that's like maybe doing, yeah, well, I mean, it's a strange goal. It should be more like percent growth, but like the number of times that I've actually seen that is really high. Like it's just so like almost every company I've worked for, both like full-time and contract, money related has been a direct, like, this is why we're here. And like, it shouldn't even be like growth shouldn't even be part of the why. That should still be like targets or goals or something like that. Like the why should really be focused on customer success. I should give an example here. Examples. So something like if we're talking about like education, it might be number of students successfully transitioning into new field. And it could be, let's say if you're agriculture, it could be number like, or students. Yeah, but companies hate customers. They only want to do nothing and still get paid. I don't think that's true. I don't think that they hate customers. I think that they don't know how to think about customers. And so they just ignore them. It's like, it's one of these things where it's just like, you have to almost like help business people relearn about business. I was actually talking to a friend of mine who is both technical. So he's been a tech lead, he's programmed for a long time, and he also recently got an MBA. And he was like, most of these MBA stuff that we're getting are like actually really good advice. So I asked him like, why then, as like, do all these people, all these like leaders in business not follow the advice that they got when they're getting their MBA? It's like a big question. Like MBAs don't, like the MBA doesn't teach you to be a bad business person. MBAs have good advice in there. The problem is most people who have MBAs don't follow their own, like the advice. They just sort of forget everything that was an MBA by the time they start running businesses. Yeah, it's hard to help my customers heal from what previous companies did to them. Agree. And it's like it's I mean, I could go on for like forever for this type of thing. Did I make this web with Leptos? I've done some stuff in Leptos, but this is on the left here. This is just terminal. I'm running Helix. On the right here, I did not make this at all. This is slides.com. It's another a tool. I have no idea what they used to make it. I would guess something like React because, like, statistically speaking, that's probably what it's made out of. I have not built anything in production with Leptos. I built something in Vue with Leptos. But I haven't followed Leptos recently. It's had some updates, but I don't think it's gotten to 1.0 yet. I'm a little bit concerned that the Rust web sort of front end dev has stalled a little bit. Like I'm seeing a lot less forward momentum on a lot of their projects. Like there's a lot more of them, but I don't really see any like jumping into 1.0 territory, which is really unfortunate. This is also not a why. This is more like maybe goals. It's like number of students successfully transitioning into a new field, number of let's say you're working for agriculture, so it might be something like number of crates, food shipped to grocery stores. It's like not just agriculture, but like, you know, you're working for like a company that ships food to grocery stores. Like that's who your target audience is. Basically, it's focused on what the customer success is. And then metrics would include things like money coming in, right? So like by doing and focusing on these things, money should just happen to come in by that point in time. You ran a hosting company for 10 years. So many customers were told so many false things that I was foot gunning them. Even though you never officially consulted for them, I told them I'm always there if they don't know how to do something and can't figure it out. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that field, the hosting business, there's so many scammers out there. So, yeah, that's an entirely different thing altogether. Like when you're working as like one of the good ones in a field where there's a ton of scammers in there, that's really rough. Because yeah, your customers are going to come in and they're all like a huge number of them are going to be burned so badly that they just have this antitrust feeling towards them. Yep, I 100% can see that. The same, you know, it's very similar to consulting. Like a lot of consultants are not great. Like they're coming in and they're really there to just make money, and they're just suggesting things that you don't need a consultant to suggest. And they're even leaving without, like, you know, which like, here's this big binder of stuff, but I can't actually implement this myself. You're good luck. You're going to have to figure this out your own. Or even if they do implement it, nothing changes at the end. So that's one of the big differences that I have between my type of consulting and someone else's is I stick around and implement it for them. And like, you can actually see changes over time. And I set up analytics and you can actually see how I'm going. And like, you want to let me go early, that's perfectly fine. So far, that's not happened. Because I do have like positive results by the end of it. But I think only people who are actually know what they're talking about or trying to do good are willing to measure themselves against that. Otherwise, you're just trying to make money and make a quick buck, which is, I don't know, it's a terrible way to run business. Yeah, I 100% agree that can be, like, it can work to run your own infrastructure, and it can work to run in the cloud. It's just everything needs to be. It's one of the things that, like, I really hate is when you see somebody saying, like, this is how to do stuff. Like, for example, Agile is full of this. In Agile, it's like, this is how to be Agile. And it's like, well, yes, but when I come into a company, I can't tell you how to be Agile. I have to see what type of company you have first, like who your customers are, what type of work you're trying to do, and all that stuff. And then I can help you customize a type of Agile that only works for you and won't work for anybody. Sure, there's similar parts to it, like stand-ups, but there's like, everything's going to be different. Like this checklist, like there's a reason why it's so generic, is because this type of thing can be used by so many different types of companies. And also, like, we haven't even gone to like different sizes of companies yet, or different stages of companies. Like super early stage won't probably need a lot of this stuff, because they're not to the point where they need, like, you know, everything in here. All they're trying to do is just prove that they can work on a project at all. So this is really, and I should probably add this in here, business checklist. So this is a checklist for established, small to medium sized companies, which is, I guess, like 25. I'm not sure what their bare minimum, so I'm just getting less than 100 employees. After 100 employees, it's like, I guess medium is still that. Maybe I'll do like 250. But once you get above a certain number of employees, you're no longer medium, and you're becoming large. Nice. That's excellent. Sounds like you were doing some really good stuff there. Yeah. Okay. It is 12:17. I am really hungry. We've been doing this for a couple hours now. I feel like things stabilized decently well internet wise in the last like hour or so. Especially after I made the changes. So I'll make a few more tweaks before Friday, when we'll do this again, and then we'll see if that makes things even better. You never got past 3 employees, never need to be that big. Yeah, and like 3 employees is small enough that the CEO, which would be you, you can know everything that's going on and keep it all in your mind. You don't need a lot of this sort of infrastructure and setup for it, because like it's just simpler that way. But this is what I'm sort of specializing in, is people, like working with people. All right, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Sorry for the sort of not great parts of it, but we'll be getting there. I'll be back on Friday around 9 o'clock Pacific time, which I think, that's 3 hours plus, that's like 12 o'clock East Coast time. And we'll do this until around this time, so around 3 hours or so. And we'll just sort of play it by ear. Oh, no, right. How are there enough of us? How many of us there are? Doesn't show anybody. We could do a raid. If I raid, select a raid channel. Who is streaming that nobody's streaming that I'm following? Any suggestions? Also, I think I'm getting drops. No on your list. Okay, no raid then today. We'll do a raid some other time. Maybe we'll create a tool to raid some other time too. So with that, no F on your end. Okay, that's just my YouTube player then. It's weird. Not trustworthy. I can't trust anything. All right. Have a great rest of your day, everybody, and I will see you next time. Bye.